I'm Jill Johnson, President and founder of Johnson Consulting Services. I'm also the Vice President of the Minnesota chapter of the National Speakers Association. And this year, one of my key responsibilities is to chair the Last Story Standing competition, which is our storytelling competition for our chapter that's part of the National Association competition as well. So I want to give you three major key tips that will help you as you work on preparing your story. I think it's really important to understand that this isn't just telling a story. This is a story that has very specific insights that you need to keep in mind as you're crafting the story that you're going to submit for your judging. So first, you really need to understand the rules and the judging criteria. Those are found on our website as well as in the recent newsletter. Take the time to read those rules over and understand the judging criteria. This is a rule-driven storytelling competition. So you need to make sure that you tailor your story so that it aligns with the rules that the judges will be judging on. I was a judge last year, and I can tell you that a lot of folks didn't really have the time or energy to go back and look at it. And I think their submissions would have been much stronger if they had been able to understand better what the judges would be judging on. So I want you to go back and look at that. And our winner nationally has been very candid that he was meticulous about his analysis of the rules in terms of the time length, which is 5 minutes, and that means not 5 minutes and 1 second. It means 5 minutes or less from the time you start speaking until you end speaking. If you go even 1 second over, unfortunately, your submission will be disqualified. You also want to understand the theme. This is not a TED Talk, so we don't want all of the 7 best points that you have that relate to the story. We just want the story, and the story should illustrate the theme that you're wanting to incorporate. And the judging criteria, you really need to take the time to look at it. I'm not going to go through that now, but I want you to sit down and take a look at it so that you understand the things that the judges will be looking for and how then, because then that will help you maximize the score that you can get. The second is how you go about developing and refining your story. The key thing, I think, is preparation. You need to be both disciplined and focused as you construct your story over the next few weeks before you submit it. Just rushing to submit a video doesn't make any sense. You want to think through how it is you're going to structure that story. And that's where an understanding the rules and the themes and the criteria come into place so that you can look at where do you need to massage or adjust that story that you want to tell. And you do that by preparing and practicing. Feedback is also key. So find some people that you trust that will watch your story. I mean, it's only 5 minutes, so it's not like you're asking them for hours and hours of time, but you want to get their reactions. You want to see how they respond to the characters that you've developed as you tell your story, or the way you're telling the story and the impact that it's providing to them as an audience member. And the key is you're wanting to look for insights on things to be improved. And the kind of the rule of thumb is if multiple people are telling you that something needs to be adjusted, you probably should sit down and take a listen to it and find a way to incorporate it in. And sometimes you're going to reject the feedback because of how that story resonates with you. But remember, it's not about you. It's about how this will be received by an audience and by the judges. If you have characters in your story, which most of you will have, you'll be interacting with an experience or some other character as you're telling that story. You want to make sure, even with those people who are the antagonists, if you will, that create the drama, still find a way to make them humane. You want to have a little bit of humanity in them so that there's a hint of a redeeming quality, not just that he's a jerk and you're angry with him. And finally, make sure your storytelling is very sensory. That means giving vivid descriptions. Incorporate all the senses of sight and sound and smell and taste and touch. You want to make us feel like we are right there with you. And the way you do that is by how you use the senses to bring the audience into feeling the story that you're telling. And finally, you need to have some mechanics for your storytelling as well. And that's how you record it for submission. We suggest that you invest in a good microphone. And so if you're going to be standing and performing it, you may want to have a Bluetooth lavalier microphone. You can get those for $20 off of Amazon. You want to be in a room that has pretty good lighting. Now, I'm not saying studio lighting. You don't need to go all crazy on that, but you at least want to be in a room that's very well lit. And you're going to be able to tell if that's well lit and can you be well heard by your practice. So you'll be able to see what that video will look like to the judges when they're reviewing it. Be natural on camera. Nobody expects that you won't flub over a word or here and there, just like I have in this video. But you want to have a very natural camera presence. You want to make sure that you, as much as you can, you're talking to the judges and you're not being overly dramatic or overly moving. You really want to be natural as much as you can on the camera. Crystal clear delivery, you need to be understood. And that's where good microphone and lighting will really help you so that the judges can see and hear what it is that you're saying. And the other thing is record multiple takes of your presentation, of your story presentation, because here's the reality. You never get it right perfectly on the first go. You're probably going to have to tell that story over and over and over again so that the flow and the feel and the wording comes very naturally from within you. And it's important to understand you cannot edit your video. The video that you will submit for your competition video must be a single take from start to finish. You cannot go in and piece together the best segments of what you've created. You have to simply submit a full, unedited, single camera take that can be submitted to the judges. And if you try and squeeze it through, that too is a disqualifier. So I am excited, and to see what you come up with. I was a judge last year, and there were so many different stories that resonated and that people had clearly put a lot of time and effort into creating. And I want you to be as successful as you possibly can be. Whether you end up being a finalist or not, your storytelling skills will be improved if you start refining it based on some of those key tips that were recorded here today. Thanks so much, and I look forward to seeing your story and to see you as the last story standing champion.